good looking and not so good looking people. Today's guest is a very special guest. He's actually a very good friend of mine and the person that motivated me and gave me the idea to start my own YouTube channel. You want to introduce yourself?
It's your boy Xavier. My name is Xavier, but I go by Xavier, and it's good to see y'all today.
Today's topic is a very important topic, which I feel like most people don't really take it seriously, but it is necessary in our everyday life, which is mental health. I asked Zay to come today and let's talk about it because I feel like he knows way more about mental health than me. So it was just fitting for him to give us some insights on mental health. What do you see mental health as?
Well, I love talking about mental health. I love mental health awareness. Mental health is deeper than mental illness. And so mental health to me is literally setting yourself free. Your mind is the greatest weapon that you can have, and literally it can unleash a lot of power within you.
So earlier you said that mental illness and mental health are two different things, right? But what exactly is the difference between the two?
Okay, so mental illness is focused more so on like depression, anxiety, bipolar. Mental health is more so self-care, like what do you do before you get to burnout. Two different things, but it's all kind of together. And then like the mental health overall is like, let me take care of myself today. So I'm going to establish boundaries here. So that way I know that if my family is treating me this way, I need to establish this boundary so that way I don't feel like I'm anxiety or like I don't have anxiety around them.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Okay, so pretty much mental health is the bigger picture, and then mental illness is the subcategory of mental health.
Just depression shows up differently for every person. So you can have people who are functional in depression and they're like super happy, and then you have people that are very like they can't even get out of bed, like they have no motivation.
That bad?
Like it's just super bad. And so you never know what somebody's really going through when it comes down to mental illnesses, just because it's a mental thing.
A few moments later.
Right? Do you think anxiety and depression go hand to hand, or are they both connected to mental illness, right?
Okay, so mental illness is expansive, literally just expansive. And anxiety and depression, they can go hand in hand, but it's also two different types of anxiety and depression. You have clinical anxiety and depression, which are diagnoses. And then you also have, which is on social media now, I don't know if you've seen it, but like more people are posting like mental health awareness.
Right.
And they say like, oh, this is what anxiety could be, or this is what depression could be. So when it comes down to that, those two things can go hand in hand. So if you're super anxious around other people, like let's say you have social anxiety and you don't know how to operate around people, and you're depressed as well, now it's like, well, I really wish I could talk to people, but I'm just not motivated to talk to people, and I really just hate everybody, blah, 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 blah. And so now you have somebody who's super depressed, and now they're like super anxious around people.
Right.
And so now it's like a whirlwind.
I just take anxiety as being nervous, while depression is just feeling down and not really having the motivation to do anything that you want to do.
Okay. Well, on the surface levels, I agree. Those are kind of the easiest way to distinguish the two, but it's not really the two. So with depression, you have somebody who's really like high functioning and like they are social, they're very outgoing, but in reality they're depressed and they're not motivated and they really just don't want to exist sometimes, and it's like it can get very dark. But with anxiety, it kind of does go with the nerves because you're feeling anxious, anxiety, same kind of word. That's kind of how people can associate it with it. But also anxiety doesn't have to do with just straight nerves. It does with more like when people are getting up to speak in front of people, or when people are around other people and they don't know how to establish boundaries because, like, let's say somebody's anxious and they have anxiety based off of something in their past. So like, let's say if somebody has been assaulted before and now like somebody comes up and they're like, hey, what's up?
Right.
They get super anxious and the anxiety is triggered because they're thinking about their past.
Okay.
Depression is more so like, depression is depression. Depression is another topic.
Right. I went through anxiety in my past, and this was mainly from school. group presentations or just presentations by myself, I usually skip class that day, say that I'm sick, or just go to the bathroom and don't even show up for my presentation because I felt very, very nervous to present in front of people. I actually always take a 0 and get an F on that presentation just because I didn't want to present. And that was something that I was going through back then. But then I learned that we are all in the same boat. What I was nervous about was how people saw me whenever I got up to present. So once I got through that in my mind, because it was mainly mental, and then I was fine.
I would also say that like I had social anxiety really bad, and people are always like, "Well, you're really outgoing, and you love to talk," but I really don't. Like if you know me, it's a battle for me to talk. Like I'm really energetic and I like to talk, but I also was used to be like, well, what are people saying about me, or what are the, and it just kind of just took away from my actual power. And I think a lot of times that's kind of when it comes down to it. Like with social anxiety, is more so about society and what people are going to say, or based off of what people do say about you. And for me, this is my own personal experience. Literally, for me breaking through my social anxiety, it was just kind of like not giving a fuck. And literally just walking in your own power and realizing, okay, none of it matters at the end of the day. We all exist, we all are here, we all are trying, we all are doing our best. And I went through depression, I went through anxiety, and it was all due to I just didn't have an interest in anything at some point. Like depression is a little different from anxiety because anxiety is only triggered, not only, but anxiety is usually like the forefront.
Okay.
Depression is like a constant sadness and a constant battle of like you're sad, or you don't have an interest of doing anything, or you're just not motivated. And there's so many different depressions, but literally for me, getting through a lot of my mental illnesses, and sometimes it's a battle because people are functioning, also have mental illnesses sometimes. And it's not saying that mental illnesses are bad, because mental illness is not bad. Cannot stress it enough. Mental illness is not bad, and in our community, we often don't talk about it because it's like taboo.
Express it. And why do you think that most people shy away from it and don't really talk about it like that?
Most of the time we shy away from mental illness is because when you say mental illness, the people really think about like crackheads and like people in mental wards.
They think that you're sick.
You think you're sick, like you're just sick. But in reality, no, it's not that way. Also, a lot of times we shy away from it and we don't talk about it is because when you talk about things that make you vulnerable, like now you're seen weak.
Right. And
it's really not that way. And I just think that's kind of the reality behind it. Like a lot of times people are thinking of like if you're being vulnerable, like you're crying for help, and it's really the opposite. Once you're able to talk about mental wellness and mental health and mental illnesses freely, it gives people power. Okay. And it gives people the ability to just express who they are and realize that I operate these things. Like you don't ask a child, why don't you like to do math, when you know that a child is great at reading. Right. You ask a child, how can I help you learn how to do math a little bit better?
That makes sense, right? Do you think that religion plays a part in anxiety, depression, and just mental illness and health in general?
Religion, politics, all the controversial stuff does play a part in mental wellness as well. Right. Because like when it comes down to religion, sometimes when people are talking about their mental health, specifically just coming from a Christian background, a lot of times in the church it's like, oh, it's a demon, or you just pray it away. And it's like, okay, cool, it could be a demon and you could just pray it away, but also what am I going to do right now as well to help myself? And at me if you want, we can talk about that. But literally, it's kind of like a controversial topic because people do go through that a lot. Right. And when it comes down to mental health, like mental wellness and mental illnesses, and just the overall umbrella, a lot of times people have trauma, and undoing trauma and realizing that trauma is just a part of life as well, and not being consumed by it, but being informed, like, okay, I operate this way because of my past and this is what I'm thinking. Rather than, well, this is how it is and this is how it's always going to be. Those are two different ways of living life. And that is literally what mental health awareness is about. It's literally about changing this is how it's always going to be, and realizing, no, it doesn't have to always be this way. Like, literally moving your body is the best way to move your mind. And there's numerous ways that, like, for people to kind of move through anxiety and depression as well. I'm a life coach, and I take a holistic approach to it. So, like, I do mind, body, and spirit. So for some people, going to church is a great way. Praying, manifesting, great. For other people, drawing, singing, dancing, great. Just finding your own, like, literally sometimes your hobbies are the things that get you free. So like going to the gym, working out is probably the best way, because literally when you move your mind, you're moving your body at the same time. That's just that. And so it's vice versa. When you're moving your body, you're moving your mind. Literally realizing you don't have to do it alone, but also finding people that you trust and you know that's not going to tell you, man, you tripping, blah, 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 blah. And then also going to a therapist, going to a life coach, going to church, whatever you know that brings your heart joy. That's the quickest way to also breaking through your anxiety and your depression, because you don't have motivation for one when you're depressed. And anxiety is really kind of like a, well, I'm not good enough type of thing, and when you're just doing it, there's nothing to stop you.
I think that what not to do is nothing. The worst thing I think you could possibly do if you're going through anxiety or depression is to just be in your room or the house, especially alone. Go out and do something with some friends, and if you don't have friends, take yourself out. Go and do something. Like he said earlier, and I said as well, go to the gym, move around. Just don't be at the house or alone, because that actually makes it worse.
Yeah, and I like to dance by myself in my room and stuff, so, you know, honestly, as long as you're moving, you're fine. Like, that just let you know that you're still living and you're simply existing, and that's beautiful itself.
Medication for anxiety and depression, do you think it actually helps or does it make it worse?
So some people self-medicate, and we know what that means. And then also some people do have medication for anxiety and depression. I've dabbled with it, but I no longer need any of them, like any of that medication. When it comes down to like anxiety, the medicine made my personality. I would not recommend it, but also it's like playing around with different types of medication. Okay. So some people need it, some people don't. Literally, you know your body better than anybody else. Right. When people have the medication, like some people are like, well, I have ADHD and I can't focus. You know your body better than anybody knows your body. But also, maybe you just need to sit down and cut some stuff out your life. Like maybe the things that you are going through are no longer helping you. So when you have like so many different tasks, like I have to do this, I have to do that, maybe there's some things that you really don't have to do. And that can help you like tremendously take a lot of weight off your shoulders. Right. Because now at that point, when that weight's off your shoulder, that's no longer on your mind. So that's kind of my recommendation when it comes down to medicine, especially when it comes to different mental illnesses and different things that you're taking medication for. Just at the end of the day, if you got medication, you know your body better than anybody knows your body.
So I have heard this before, right? From some people that they don't really know why they are depressed. They just get depressed out of nowhere. And to me, that is hard, because if you don't know what caused it, you cannot really fix it.
I would say I've been through all of that too. A lot of times when people don't know why they're depressed, this is my own opinion, it's just a lot going on. And you gotta take it one step at a time. And honestly, mental wellness is really about committing to yourself. At the end of the day, like when you know you're going to the gym, you're committing because you know that you want these results. So when it comes down to your mental health, you also have to commit because you know you want these results. Like if you want to live a happy life, you're not going to live a happy life if you be like, well, I just don't know and I don't care. Right? You have to figure it out. No matter the pain that you have to go through, you know at the end of the road, it's going to be some sunshine. You know that the storm is not going to last forever. So when it comes down to not knowing, a lot of times it's because it's a lot of turmoil, it's a lot of trauma, it's a lot of different things going on. And so that's when you have a therapist or a life coach to kind of help you go through it, to get to the roots of those problems. It's kind of hard because like if you don't go through something yourself, you don't really kind of see it.
Right.
And that's why it's like at the end of the day, if you are going through something, people cannot read your mind. Emphasis on people cannot read your mind.
And you have to communicate. And I know that sometimes when you reach out to people, it just makes you seem weak. But that is the right thing to do, despite how it makes you look, which is why
Pride.
people try to avoid it because of pride. But just realize that it is more important than your pride. Any of you are going through anxiety or depression, mental illness, or just want to know more about mental health, you can contact Zay. I'm gonna put his contact up here or in the description down below, and you can contact him. He's actually a life coach now, so if you need any information or need help in that, he got you.
As he said, I'm a life coach. I focus on a lot of different topics. Specifically, I just like to help people through their trauma and get through mental blockage. Simple Existence LLC is my business. Simply existing because it's beautiful. Love within, express outwardly. Also, as you see, fearless plus powerful. This is my merch that I just started, and it's just to advocate. Literally, you don't have to fear anything. Like, you're living your life, you're fearless, and that is the power that you have that you were born with. So thank you, Benji, for having me. I thank y'all for having me on this.
Don't treat me like a side bitch. Hit that like, comment, share, and subscribe button. And until next time, stay blessed.